Hello, good morning. Today, my discussion topics is about framework in the resource. First of all, there are two types of framework: theoretical framework and conceptual framework. Insert framework is the one plan way. So, both theoretical and conceptual framework have a important role in resource. Frameworks are essential to bridge the gaps in the resource. Frameworks is essential to connect, like this, the gaps in the resource. So that framework help in clarity setting the goals, priorities, relationship between variables. Framework in research particularly helps in writing clear process details, to write in methods and methodology of the research. Else, frameworks helps writing in methods and methodology. I've already discussed there are two types of frameworks. Theoretical frameworks largely work at the time when the theoretical roadmap, already established theory, given roadmap, has been fit about a certain topic and research being undertaken. What have you choose? Research topic, and you have undertaken is that the theory is fit or not. Which theory is fit in your research topics? Which theory are you applying to solve your research topics you have undertaken? That is the theoretical frameworks. So, the research design undertaken by the researcher carefully analyze it and works on similar lines to attain the successful results. You should carefully analyze the theories and similar works to attain your successful result gain. That is the theoretical framework. But in contrast, the conceptual framework, it varies from the concept from in terms of preliminary work required to construct it. The several works have been done applying the similar theory. That is the preliminary work to in your related topics. So, a conceptual framework is part of the theoretical framework. In a larger sense, where and there are variation between them. Theoretical framework and conceptual framework are sometimes variation, but conceptual framework is inside the theoretical framework. Theoretical framework is which theory is applied, which philosophy is applied in your research topic, but conceptual framework is what are the related preliminary work related to your research topics. This is the conceptual framework. Different definitions of conceptual framework and theoretical framework. A conceptual framework explains the standard to define research question and find appropriate meaningful answer for the same. I've already discussed the research question and find the appropriate meaningful answers for the same. Conceptual framework connects the theories, assumptions, beliefs, and concepts behind your research and present them in pictorial, graphical, or narrative format. Your conceptual framework establishes a link between the dependent and independent variables, factors, and other ideologies affecting the structure of your research. The conceptual framework includes the key process, parameters, defining variables, and cause and effect relationship. To add this, the preliminary focus while developing a conceptual framework should remain on the quality of questions being raised and addressed through the framework. A conceptual framework will not only ease the process of initiation, but also enable you draw meaningful conclusion from the same. Conceptual framework will not only ease the process initiation. I have already discussed conceptual frameworks. Framework helps writing methodology. That is the initiation. I request you, conceptual framework will not only ease the process initiation, but enable to draw the meaningful conclusion. That is the you write result and conclusion. Also helps. You can compare the preliminary work with your research work. And you write result and discussion from the help of conceptual framework. How to make a conceptual framework? Successful design of a conceptual framework includes selecting the appropriate research question, defining the process variables, dependent and independent and others, determining the cause and effect relationship. I again say, selecting the appropriate research question. You choose the question from your conceptual framework. You find out your resource gap from your conceptual framework, defining the process variables, dependent and independent variables. You can determine the cause and effect relationship. You should include the conceptual framework. First of all, you select appropriate research question, that is finding the research gap, and define variables, that is dependent and independent variables in others. And third, determine the cause and effect, the relationship. Example of a conceptual framework to provide an idea about a conceptual framework. Let's examine the example of drug development research, say new drug moiety Yax, that is the specific group of atoms within a molecule that is responsible for characteristic chemical reaction of the molecule, has to be launched in the market. For that, the baseline research begins with selecting the appropriate drug molecule. This is important because it provides the data for molecular docking studies to identify suitable target proteins. It performs in vitro, a process taking place outside a living organism, and vivo, a process taking place inside the living organism. Analysis performs vitro and vivo analysis. That is, vitro means process taking place outside the living, vivo means process taking place inside the living organism. Choice of drug molecule, independent variables, results from the molecular docking, dependent variables, in vitro analysis, dependent variables, in vivo analysis, dependent variables. Research design. Research design is the blueprint of a scientific study. That is the plan. Research design, or it is also called plan of your research. It includes research methodologies, tools, and techniques to conduct the research. It helps to identify and address the problem that may arise during the process of research and analysis. And some definitions of some authors. Borwanker defined the research design once the problem is selected and the relevant literature serves the broader research format and plan to visit regularly the researcher's mind. Research format and plan. Research format and plan to visit regularly the researcher's mind, which is called research plan or research design. That is the researcher's mind in format in plan to visit regularly. The research design refers to the overall strategy that you choose to integrate the different components of the study in a coherent and logical way, thereby ensuring you will effectively address the research problem. It constitutes the blueprint for the collection, measurement, and analysis of data. Research design is the plan, structure, strategy, and investigation concave, that is the outline. So, as to obtain the research question, control variance. And according to the Celtics, Henry Manheim says that research design not only anticipate, make a prediction about, and specify the seemingly according to what you have read in here. So, research design is not only anticipate and seemingly countless decisions connected with carrying out the collection, processing, and analysis, but it presents a logical basis for these decisions. Research design not only anticipate and specify the seemingly countless decisions connected with carrying out data collection, processing, and analysis, but It presents a logical basis for these decisions. And Sarah Reed et al. Also define research design. Research design refers the overall strategy utilized to carry out research that defines succinct and logical plan to tackle established research questions through the collection, interpretation, analysis, and discussion data. Research design refers overall strategy utilized to carry out the research that defines succinct, that is, marked by short, concise expression without wasted word, succinct, and logical plan. Short, concise expression without wasted word, succinct, and logical plan to tackle established research question through the collection, interpretation, analysis, and discussion of data. The methodologies and methods incorporated in the design of the research study will depend on the standpoint of the researcher over their beliefs in the nature of knowledge, that is epistemology, and reality ontology, often shaped by the disciplinary areas the researchers belongs to. So, research design is succinct and logical plan. Succinct and logical plan. For what? To tackle established research question through collection, interpretation, analysis, and discussion of data. The methodologies and methods incorporated in the design of the research study will depend on the standpoint of the researcher over the belief in the knowledge and reality, that is epistemology and ontology. Research design also, according to Creswell, the design of a study defines the study type: descriptive, correlational, semi-experimental, experimental, review, meta-analytic, and subtype: descriptive logical case study, resource problem, hypothesis, independent and dependent variables, experimental design, and, if applicable, data collection method and statistical analysis plan. Creswell also defined it is the plan. For what? To study and to study type and subtype, research problem, hypothesis, independent and dependent variables, experimental design, and if applicable, data collection methods and statistical analysis plan, according to Creswell. A researcher needs to organize his or ideas in a logical sequence and write or draw flowchart, which is called research design or plan. In short, research design is research plan. The features of research design, it is a plan that specifies the source and type of information relevant to research problem. It is a strategy specifying which approach should be used, gathering and analyzing the data. It also includes the time and cost budget, since most studies are done under these two constraints. Research design also helps in suggesting the efficient and economical parts of pursuit and eliminate irrelevant data, efforts, and procedure, avoid errors, and ensure reality. In brief, research design must at least contain a clear statement of research problem, procedures and techniques to be gather data information, the population to be studied, methods to be used in processing and analysis data. In brief, research design must, must at least contain research problem, your research question, your procedure, techniques, your sample size, and methods to be used for the analysis data. Component of research design. After discussed the four major types of research design: exploratory or formative research design, descriptive or statistical research design, explanatory research design, experimental research design, or analytical research design. Descriptive research design, this is a theory-based design where the researcher is preliminary interested in describing the topic that is the subject of research. It is applied to case studies, naturalistic observation, surveys, and so on. This method includes that collection, analysis, presentation. It lets the researcher clearly present the problem statement in order to allow others to better understand the need for this kind of research. Without a clear problem statement, you are not doing descriptive but exploratory research. Correlation design. Just as the name suggests, correlation design allows the researcher to establish some kind of relation between two closely related topics or variables. It is non-experimental research design type requires at least two groups of data. It includes case control study and observational study. Experimental research design, whether it is the field experiment, a control experiment, or quasi-experiment, that is one of the research design type that establish the relation between the cause and effect of the particular happening. How the researcher observes the influence of the independent variables on the dependent one. For instance, you can observe the impact of the price independent variable and customers satisfaction dependent variable. Usually, this type of research design contribute to solving a particular problem by manipulating the independent variables to observe the change they have on the dependent one. For example, you can experiment with changing the price and observe the effect it has on customer satisfaction. Diagnostic research design. Diagnostic research is one of the research design type that aims to examine the underlying cause of a certain situation phenomenon. This design usually consists of three phases: problem inception, problem diagnosis, problem solution. Explanatory research design, the name of explanatory research design is used to further expand, explore, explain the research ideas and theories. Difference between qualitative and quantitative research design. Quantitative research design give answer the question like who, what, when, where, and at last how many. Who, what, when, where, how many. Due to the fact they close-ended questions. Close-ended questions that results, the quantitative surveys can easily be transferred into numbers, stats, graphs, and charts. This is the business often use quantitative surveys to learn about the customers and derive drive their decisions using the data obtained. In qualitative research design, the qualitative research on the other hand aims to answer to why and how. In case of quantitative, what, when, where. What, when, where, who, and how many. Quantitative research design. In case of qualitative, why and how. Qualitative research most commonly revolves around open-ended survey questions and highly descriptive answers that are hard to quantify and express through numbers. It is a great way to collect more complex information and explore people, thoughts, and behavior. It's often used to find ideas, formulate prediction, and explain numbers. If you are looking to learn more about these two types of design, we have prepared a guide to help decide whether you should collect quantitative or qualitative data for your business resource. Fixed and flexible research design. Fixed research design is quantitative, flexible is qualitative. Another distinction can be made between the fixed and flexible research design. Often these two research design type coincide with quantitative fixed design and qualitative flexible design data collection. With a fixed research design, that the design of research is predetermined and known before start collecting data. Flexible design, on the other hand, allow more freedom with the collecting data. In case of fixed design, the predetermined and known before you start collecting data. In case of flexible, the freedom in collecting data. For example, you do not often predetermine answer options so that respondents type in their own answer. Research design type by grouping. At another classification of research design type can be made based on way participants are grouped. In most cases, grouping depends on the research hypothesis and the way participants are being sampled. For example, in typical study based on experimental research design, there is the usually at least one experimental and one control group. In medical studies, let's say one group could be receiving treatment while the other would be given no treatment. Based on the participating group, we distinguish the four types of research design. One is the cohort. From the word of cohort, a study type of this longitudinal research design sample. Cohort, a group of people with shared characteristics from the word, while doing a cross-sectional specific time intervals. It is a time of panel study where the individual in the panel share and common characteristics. That is the cohort studies. From the word we can understand a group of people with the shared characteristics. Cross-sectional study. A cross-sectional study is common in the social science, medical research, and biology. This type of research design analyzes the data either from a population or from a representative sample at a specified point of time. only specified point of time, that is cross-sectional. But longitudinal study is research design that is involves repeated observations of the same variables over short or long period of time. In case of cross-sectional, that is in the specified point in time. But in case of longitudinal period of time, cross-sequential study, cross-sequential resource design combines the longitudinal and cross-sectional resource design, aiming to compensate for some of the issues inherently present in the two aforementioned design. Cross-sectional resource design combines longitudinal and cross-sectional resource design. Metaphysics is the branch of philosophy that studies fundamental nature of the reality. This includes the first principle being our existence, identity change, space and time, cause and effect, necessity, actuality, and possibility. Insert fundamental nature of reality. Fundamental nature of reality in being, existence, identity, change, space, time. Cause and effect, necessity, actuality, possibility. These are metaphysics includes metaphysics. That is the fundamental nature of reality. Fundamental nature of reality or metaphysics include being of existence, identity change, space, time, cause and effect, necessary, actuality, possibility. Ontology is the philosophical discipline, a branch of philosophy that deals with the nature and organization of being. That is reality. That is the root of the knowledge. Ontology is the reality. Deals with the nature and organization. Metaphysics studies fundamental nature of the reality. Fundamental nature of the reality. What are the fundamental? Existence, identity, change, space, cause and effect, necessity, actuality. These are the fundamentals. These are the metaphysics. But ontology deals with the nature and organization being, that is the reality. It is the root of the knowledge. Epistemology is the theory of knowledge. It concerns with the mind relation to the reality. What is the relation your mind with the reality? That is beliefs in the nature of the knowledge. What is your beliefs in the nature of the knowledge? Epistemology is the beliefs. Ontology is the reality. That is the root. Metaphysics is the fundamental nature. What are the fundamentals? Existence, necessity, identity, another cause and effect, space and time, change. These are the fundamentals. These are the metaphysics. Ontology is reality. Reality of nature and organization of being. But epistemology is the beliefs. May differ in the beliefs, in the nature of the knowledge. Axiology is the branch of practical philosophy which studies the nature of value. In short, axiology is the value. The values for different may differ, may variation or different in values. Thanks for watching.